Vincent film presented one or two interesting problems. First of all, I wanted the live action to match up with the colours and the vigour of the Van Gogh paintings. Here's one of the key ones. This is called the Reaper, and its nature is a wheat field, some hills, a little church there, and the sun low in the sky. I was able to locate this particular spot, which isn't in the south of France admittedly, it's actually near Pontefract, but it has all the elements. You can see the painting here that our Van Gogh character is beavering away on. This is the wheat field and hills, little church, nice busy sky, and the sun setting. So I was quite lucky to find all that at one sitting. No, I'm lying. What we actually got was this. Despite the fact that we had the hottest summer in 2013 that we'd had for a long time, the one day in the entire summer that we chose to film was overcast. So we have now somehow to get from this rather grey, dull, flat Pontefract wheat field and transform it to our south of France wheat field, which is quite colourful, sun in the sky, and nice and contrasty. So let's go through the stages of getting from this to this. And I'm going to start again with a new composition. And we're in After Effects, of course, and just to recap, this is our work area. This is the list of assets that we have. Over here we have things like text and various plugins and effects that we can call on, and down here is our timeline, and being After Effects we can stack timelines to have as many as we want to achieve the finished strip of film. So jumping right in, I'm going to go to the assets panel and pull in our Vincent footage, and as you can see this is exactly as we had before. First thing we need to do is to look at this sky, which is totally featureless, so we need to get rid of this particular area and maintain this area. And the way to do that is to create a matte, or a mask if you like. So what we need to do is to create an area of black here and an area of white here, so that the sky can be got rid of. We can use the mask or the matte to retain this lower area. So let's jump in and see how we do that. Down on our timeline here, just this single strip of film, I'm going to duplicate that twice, so we now have 3 layers, all exactly the same, and I'll explain why that is as we go. So I'm going to use this top layer to create the mask or the matte, and the way I'm going to do it is to use an effect called Colorama. This goes very strange when you first see it, but that's only the default. What I want to choose is ramp grey. What this does is to give us a monochrome version of the colour. So turn that off, that's the colour, that's the monochrome. As I said before, what we need to do is to create black down here and white up here. Colorama has this dial which differentiates between black through grey to white. What we want is to eliminate the middle sections. So I'm going to click on here and choose black and OK, and there's now another arrow in there, and by dialing this, as you see, I can gradually make everything black. There we go. Pause it there for the minute. As you see, we now have the start of our outline here. Not perfect, we've still got this lot here, but we can deal with that later on. And of course the sky is still showing in its nasty greyness. So what I'm going to do is effectively the opposite of what I've just done with the black, by clicking on the white area here, choosing white and OK, and that gives me another dial section, and I can turn that and gradually get rid of the white. So that's our matte or mask. What I have to do now is to mask out the lower area with the upper area. The way we do that is to go over here, and this is a section called Track Matte, which, as its name suggests, is a matte which can track across the film. If we had something going across like a bird, or if these trees were moving, for example, the matte would alter to suit, so it wouldn't just stay static. So I'm going to go now to the layer just underneath the matte and choose Luma Inverted Matte, and that immediately gets rid of the sky. The checkerboard of course is to indicate transparency. So now we have a lower area which is just as it was before, and an upper area which is transparent. The next stage is to add a suitable sky, so I'm just going to choose a photograph, and there it is. You can move this around, and as you see, we have our sunset there, and I'm going to put it underneath our other layers. One slight problem I see here is that if you look at the original painting, which is here, the sun, the setting sun, is on the left rather than on the right as we've got it there. So I'm going to swap that around. I simply click on the outside edge and do that, and it flops everything over. So now we have the sun setting in the right place. Maybe there. Alright, so happy with that so far. What we're missing, of course, is the sun. Now, where is the sun? Really, it's gone down, but we need to see it. So I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to call it sun. There we go. Oh dear, the sun's gone out. Not really. This is a layer on top of the others, which at the moment is black. If I were to turn that on and off, everything would appear as normal. So to this top layer I'm going to add an effect of a flare. Now that doesn't look too much like the sun. Let's just put it over the original footage. These flares can be any shape, size, variety, whatever, because you have options here to change them. There we have it, evening sun going down. So, starting to look pretty good. Everything is in place, except now, of course, we have this foreground which is still grey and flat and not really matching the picture here. So I'm going to change that now, and I'm going to use an effect in the colour correction called curves. We've seen this before. This is a way of affecting the contrast of a shot between black, which is down here, and white, which is up here. And if I were to pull down round about here, the contrast starts to improve, and push up here, that brings us the light back. And that's a nice near match to the Van Gogh painting down here. We've got the yellow corn, the busy sky, of course the sun going down. So that really is the principle behind all the live action shots which appear in the Vincent film, including this other one here. Again, this started out as that, and everything else has been added later on, including the sunflowers. I'd like to draw your attention to those, because if I were to render this, you can see that the sunflowers are actually moving in the breeze. Again, this is looping, you'll get a jerk as it goes back to the beginning again. So a couple of interesting things happening here. First of all, the sunflowers, of course, aren't there. We do those separately. And here they are in their own little area. You might be interested to know that it's actually the same sunflower repeated several times. And I filmed it on 2 or 3 different occasions. And the way I got them to appear together is by using a blue screen. So this is the sunflower in the back garden, and I've just tacked the blue screen to the fence behind it. And as I'm sure everyone will know, we need to get rid of the blue screen by keying it out, and most programs have a keying section. I use one called Keylight, and this uses the eyedropper tool, and by clicking on that the background disappears, and again the checkerboard indicates transparency. Of course, you do have the rest of the garden in view, and to get rid of that we need to add a garbage mat, which is simply using the pen tool and drawing around whatever it is we need to keep within the mat. And as I click on the last point, the background then disappears, and we can then use that. Here it is, 3 of them together. There they are. So there we have it, how to replace skies, how to colour correct for a particular set of circumstances, and how to add extra elements into the shot to round it off.